What's happening, people? Realize, oh yeah, this ridiculousness has started. Oh, yeah. Whoa, gonna be a bit scary today. We don't know what he's gonna say. Probably tell people to drink Clorox. Gonna say wash your face in sand and lie. Oh yeah. We don't know if this is gonna go crazy or if he's just gonna storm away. We don't know. Hi everybody in the chat. What's going on? How you doing? What's up with that? All right. Spread the love, let them know we're on right now. People say I'm not taking this seriously. They think I'm playing around. Oh no, that's not true. Oh no, I take it seriously as you do. Come on now, that's right, we come. Gotta do a key change. Will we find our way out of this strange quarantine? All right, let's stop messing around. You're all here. You trying to gather around. I feel like I have to spend a little bit of time getting you guys. Oh, stop it. You're not allowed to talk this nonsense. Pause. Stop. Here we go. This guy's ridiculous. Hang up over here. And my ridiculous iPad is going.
We continue to send our love to the great people of New York and New Jersey. We support them fully.
Wait, hold on. Stop. Stop. No, you don't get to just lumber out there without me calling you on it, you maniac. Look at this. Hold on. Back up. Back up, man. Come on, man. Back up. You don't get to run in there. Look, see what I did? I fixed my thing so I could jump around a little bit in case he gets long-winded. You guys good? You with me? All right, here we go.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Not everybody gets a theme song. You're very special. I don't give those to just anybody.
Today we continue to send our love to the great people of New York and New Jersey. We support them fully. We grieve alongside every family who has lost a precious loved one.
Why do you need to read this?
Workers are tough and strong and brave.
Yeah, they are. Why do you need to read this part?
New Jerseyites are tough and
New Jerseyites.
Strong and brave, and they're being hit very hard right now. And for the next week, hopefully not much longer than.
Oh my God! Just stick to the statement. Then that was my fault. I told him to speak off the cuff. I blame me.
It's going to start to go in the other direction.
What's the other direction?
Our country is being hit hard, but some areas have done so incredibly well. We're so proud of them.
No thanks to you.
They will beat this virus. We're going to beat it.
We're going to beat it. I'm sick of reading this stuff every day.
With the grit and the heart for which they're known and for which our country is known. And
everybody gets grit and heart today. You guys got grit. You got your grit and heart. Yeah, that's what we're left eating right now. That was all that was left in the grocery store. There was a run. All I could get was grits and chicken hearts.
We appreciate everything that everybody is doing.
Oh, that's pretty direct.
So we pray for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He's
only person that gets a name drop.
A great friend of ours. He loves this country. He loves his country. But he loves the USA, and he's always been.
He loves this country, and he loves the USA. Well, that's a package deal.
Good to us. Whenever we had difficulty, he was with us, and we.
Was he in World War II? It was Boris Johnson. What?
Appreciate it. So we pray for Prime Minister Boris.
Yeah, it's not good. He followed your advice, and now he's in the hospital.
Johnson. going through.
Oh my God. Ugh. Not the swooping camera work.
As we intensify
Back up.
military campaign against the virus, I think that
What do you think? Your military campaign against the virus? I think we should nuke it like a hurricane. Nuke it like a hurricane.
must be brought out that we have to thank the American people
It must be brought out that we have to thank the American people
for continuing to follow our guidelines on slow.
You mean the CDC's guidelines that have been in the pandemic response guidelines since the 80s?
The spread, an expression that more and more people are thinking about.
It's a hot phrase. It's friggin' hot.
Never heard of it 2 months ago, and now everybody.
Nobody's ever even heard of stopping the spread before. Nobody who lived through, I don't know, AIDS.
Talking about slow.
No, who talks about slowing the spread with it?
The spread, stopping the spread.
I got whichever way I want to read it, whatever the words order.
Even during this painful week, we see glimmers of very, very strong hope.
Very, very strong hope. Hope Hicks is back in the White House.
And this will be
Is she in charge of getting him out of his chair?
very painful.
Hope is very, very strong.
And next week, at least part of next week, but probably all of it. Look, if one person dies,
Part of next week, but probably all of it.
it's a painful week.
If one person dies, it's a painful week.
And we know that's going to unfortunately happen.
Yeah. There's not a week that goes by where someone doesn't die. It's a little different when it's your fault.
Monster we're fighting. But signs are that our
Monster he fights every time he tries to put a belt on.
strategy is totally working. Every American has a role to play in
Oh my God. Are they on a cruise ship? What's wrong with the camera?
winning this war. And we're going to be winning it. We're going to be winning it powerfully.
Powerfully winning. We're going to win. So we're going to win. So we won like we've never won a win before. We won powerfully. We'll
be prepared for the next one should it happen, but hopefully it won't.
What do you mean? Hopefully it won't is what you said when you shut down the pandemic response team and stopped repairing the ventilators that they rotted in a warehouse.
Our massive airlift operation for critical
That requires whenever I get out of bed.
supplies, it's called Project Airbridge, continues
Super great.
today as 5.
Project Airbridge. I don't know why they're proud of that. Like, why couldn't they call it like the old? Are there no Iraq? Like, couldn't they look through the Iraq War folder, and find something enduring eagle droppings, something like that?
Massive planes, flight.
Massive planes. Who gives a shit what size they are? I'll tell you what. You need more smaller cargo planes. Not 3 giant ones that only go where you think there's a priority.
Landed in the United States, packed with personal protective equipment and our nation's heroic healthcare workers.
Oh, his dentures are slipping. He's starting to salivate again.
Will be the beneficiaries of that. 27
Oh, don't say beneficiaries.
more flights are scheduled.
What have they said? Feverishly trying to, working, burn. Now he's saying beneficiaries.
In the near future, over the next couple of weeks, the Army Corps of Engineers is constructing facilities that will support more than 15,000 hospital beds to treat patients.
Gee, that's almost enough to cover half of New York by themselves.
Need, so they're building now approximately 15,000. They
you just said that.
completed the big one.
I love when he reads something he's never seen before and then acts like he's explaining it instead of just going, oh, now I know this.
York, they just completed and are in the process of continuing in Chicago.
They just go, oh, thank you, Rob Glenn. The process of completing, and also at some point we may also possibly complete.
And many other places. They're incredible. The Army Corps of Engineers,
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. All due appreciation to the Army Corps of Engineers, everybody at FEMA, and I would like to apologize on the behalf of a grateful nation that The Republicans treated you like an invading army for a decade.
They were able to do in such a short period of time. That
Mm-hmm. You mean their job?
these massive facilities, 2,000 beds in 4 days. So it's really something very special.
Yes, it's something very special, and they're doing a fantastic job.
I know I was in the construction industry, and
It's not construction, dickhead. They're putting tents up. Construction. They're not building. Are you even looking?
you don't see that happen very
You're not seeing it happen now.
often. I want to
Yeah, not often do we have a rolling pandemic that you let get wildly out of control where building thousands of hospital beds is required.
governors and emergency managers
You mean the people who are doing your job for you?
that sharing real-time data with us about equipment.
Yeah, they're the ones gathering it, they're the ones parsing it, and you guys are asking for it.
And their needs is very important. All of their support.
The Republican Governors Association, the Democratic Governors Association, and the Governors Association of the country are all in lockstep right now, ignoring you.
Hospital occupancy is critical. A lot of the occupancy is really getting a little bit lower than anticipated, and that's good.
No, it's not.
Thought-
We're in the preparatory phase for the wave they know is coming. Nobody's on the beach at midnight, which looks good. It's not crowded at all. You said the beach was crowded. Yeah, I assumed we were going during daytime.
And we're getting along very well with the governors. This
Yeah, you need them more than they need you, buddy.
whole situation
Don't say whole. Pence is 2 feet away.
with respect to talking to us about equipment and equipment needs, giving us a little bit of lead time, so important. All the supplies.
Yeah, you need a lot of lead time. Maybe 3 months.
Getting it to everybody like they never thought possible.
Oh, it's not possible. We're getting it to everybody like they never thought possible. They still don't think it's possible. It's amazing.
But will ensure that we can rapidly deploy federal assets where and when they're needed.
And by needed, we mean if anybody around here gets sick, Jared will have saved everything in a special warehouse just for rich people.
Especially on ventilators. We're actually getting some ventilators back. As you know, the state of California was great. They sent
Yeah, they were way ahead of you. They ignored you. Gavin Newsom, 2028.
back, which they won't.
Newsom Cuomo, 2028.
And Washington State likewise.
Remember how nasty and awful that guy was when he was asking for a bunch of stuff? He saved his constituents. Fewer people are dying because he actually did the work, and now he can afford to help other people. Just figure, why would you learn how to swim? It's not like the river's ever going to rise.
And we have some others coming back, so we're using them in areas we need them.
They're not coming back. These are ones they had themselves.
We are
Oregon's giving theirs to New York. They never got any from the federal government.
pressing forward aggressively on the scientific frontier of the medical war. The companies I've spoke to, the 4 leading.
I don't even call them drug companies. I call them sciencey, super science, extra science with special science sauce.
I call them the genius companies.
The genius companies. He changed the name.
They're doing incredibly well with respect to cures and also with respect to
A vaccine?
vaccine
No, they're not.
going to protect us, totally protect us.
They're going to totally protect us from.
And they have some great potential. It's going to take a little while yet, but they have some great potential.
Yes. Pharmaceutical companies had great potential in the fight against AIDS in 1984. They didn't realize it until the late 90s, early 2000s, but they had potential the whole time.
Great early results.
There are no early results. It's been a week.
And the governor's been working hard, and we are working hard with the governors. There's been great coordination, especially over the last little while. We're giving them a lot of equipment, a lot of ventilators.
You don't get points. You're supposed to. You give them a lot of broken ventilators.
Equipment of all types.
We gave them the good ventilators and the shit ones.
And I will protect you if your governor fails. If you have a governor that's failing, we're going to protect you.
Why would you, what governor is failing right now? What and what are you going to give? Oh man, that's a piece.
But the governors are working well with us over the last period of time.
Which governors would be failing them? The Republican governors that told everybody to go out to and have barbecue.
Today, in our stockpile of ventilators, and again, we need the stockpile so we can immediately move them from place to place wherever a monster hits. It's a monster.
It's a monster now. It's a monster. It was a war, and now we're fighting Mothra. The monster. It's a two-headed monster. I beat a monster. Trump wins 2020.
8,675 ventilators right now in stock, ready to move.
Do they all work? No.
And
we're swiftly repairing them before they go out the door. Half of them haven't been delivered because they don't work. They have repair specialists in there now trying to get them functional.
All sorts of incredible soldiers. Our military is going to move them should they be needed in, as an example, if we need additional in New York or the New York City area. You have state, you have city, and
is that how it works? Is there states and cities? Are cities in states or states in cities? I need a map.
De Blasio, and we're really...
Let me guess, you're working really well with him. You didn't really know him, and now you're really close?
Have a great, well-coordinated campaign with Mayor de Blasio. It's
a campaign? Okay, don't use the word campaign.
Really good. Spoke to Governor Cuomo. There's been great coordination, so...
Oh, thank you so much. I'll fix that. Let's see if this will work.
If they need something, we have it.
That's not true.
If Louisiana needs something, we have it. Same thing with Michigan, same thing with Illinois. There are certain spots that are very hot.
Hot.
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yes, we will. We will. There's the only true thing he says in any of these. We will see what happens.
We'll know pretty much. We'll have time, and we'll be able to move it. In addition to the 8,675 ventilators, we
10 million masks and 200 million things and da.
2,200 arriving on April 13th. We have 5,500 arriving on May 4th. These are ones that we're building for the most part. And we have, as you...
No, you're not. These are the ones you bought that are being built.
Great companies building them.
Yeah. I didn't realize we building them. Guys, do you realize? Go out and look at your car. If you bought it in the 80s, Reagan built your car.
Ford, General Motors, GE.
Jesus Christ.
We have really some great companies that are...
Do we really have some great companies?
Yeah.
Nabisco. Why are you not mentioning the elves?
On May 18th, we have 12,000. On June 1st, we have 20,000.
Yeah, on June 1st. We're going all the way out to June 1st.
29th, we have 60,000 ventilators coming. 60.
Yeah, in the middle of June.
So we have a total of 110,000 ventilators coming over a short period of time. I don't think we'll need them. Hopefully we won't need them. I don't think we'll need anywhere near them. But we'll have them for the future, and we'll also be able to help other countries.
You'll throw them in a warehouse and let them rot, or you'll sell them to other countries that believed you.
For ventilators. The UK called today, and they wanted to know would it be possible to get 200, and we're going to work it out. We got to work it out. They've been great partners. United Kingdom.
Oh, is that what? Oh, I didn't know what UK meant. I thought he was sending them to the University of Kentucky. I was like, why does UK need so many?
And
I mean, they lost to Louisville a couple of times this year, but it wasn't that bad.
Work it out for them. So they wanted 200. They needed them desperately. We now...
Why? It's a hoax.
10 drugs in active trials, with 15 more soon to follow, as well.
If those don't work?
2 vaccine candidates in active clinical trials.
Yeah, and so does Italy, and so does Germany, and so does Norway, and so does Sweden, and so does England, and they all have subsidiaries, and all these big pharmaceutical companies are largely multinational. They have 10 different labs working with 10 different groups.
We'll do
What do you mean we?
whatever it takes to secure needed medical supplies.
Are you increasing CDC funding so they can work on it? No, then it's not we.
More production of essential medicines back to our shores. We're doing that. We're bringing them back to our shores. A lot of these companies, they went a little bit haywire. They went away from this
Great country.
great country and
Jesus.
had them produced elsewhere. So we're going to start bringing them back.
No, you're talking about production versus development. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
I've been talking about that for a long time, not only
Well, you've been talking out of your ass for a long time then.
with medical, but lots of other things.
Medical and lots of other things.
Continues to perform more tests than any other nation in the world, and I think that's
And not per capita, and we also have way more sick and dying.
probably why we have
Well done. Well done. Oh, thank you, Carrie.
more cases.
Patreon.com/Al Sparks. Come on, you guys are here. I see you. You're joining in. You know you want to support us.
Because when you look at some of these very large countries, I know for a fact that they have far more cases than we do, but
No. What do you mean? India, which has 1.6 billion people?
report them.
Yeah, they just don't tell it. That's what it is.
We've performed
I think he was talking about China. True.
0.87 million tests to date, so that's 1,870,000
Same number as yesterday.
million tests.
170,000 million tests. You've been tested. You don't even know. Smell your finger.
Look at that, 1,870,000 tests to date. And now we're performing them at a level that
Nobody ever thought possible. Why would anybody think about the possibility of how many tests you would have for a disease that didn't exist 7 months ago?
nobody's ever seen.
What are you talking about? By the way, is lack of imagination a key job skill in your administration? I'm surrounded by people who can't imagine shit.
Before. As we announced yesterday, CVS testing sites in Georgia and Rhode Island will be using Abbott Labs rapid 5-minute tests. We're down to now 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute test.
Just
So
5-minute tests, one at a time. We've only got a few of them.
people can get their results back very quickly.
Yep, and then they can walk in, buy some Sudafed, walk out, and touch 9 surfaces where sick people touched.
And we're actively
And need another test.
engaging
We need an antibody test, dummy.
the problem of increased impacts. This is a real problem, and it's showing up very strongly. And
It's showing up very strong. He just read this. He didn't know what this is. Let's watch him figure out what this is. Thank you, Joyce. Let's watch him gather steam on whatever the shit this is.
our data, the African American community, and we're doing everything in our power to address this challenge. It's a tremendous
Challenge?
challenge.
You suck at this. Oh my God. There's dozens of reasons why the African American community is impacted by this in the United States at a higher level. Part of it is poverty and environmental toxicity around them. That's a big factor. Lead, we'll talk about that later. In the neighborhoods, also obesity and diabetes, hypertension. Being poor and disenfranchised is kind of stressful. Kind of takes a toll on your heart. Secondly, and the most, I think, crucial one, why in certain areas like in Chicago, you had your Reverend Wright types rolling around saying black people can't get it. It's an Asian and Jew disease. Yeah, not helpful, guys.
And provide support to African American citizens of this country who are going through a lot, but it's been disproportional. They're getting hit very, very hard. In fact, while we have Tony,
Tony will explain it. I don't care.
I'd like to maybe have you come up and address that one, and then I'll continue. But if you could address that, it would be great, Tony, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. We have a particularly difficult problem of an exacerbation of a health disparity. We've known literally forever that diseases
Not literally, but I get you.
like diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and asthma are disproportionately
Asthma exacerbated by environmental toxicity of poor neighborhoods.
afflicting the minority populations, particularly the African Americans.
Yes.
Fortunately, when you look at the predisposing conditions that lead to a bad outcome with coronavirus, the things that get people into ICUs, that require intubation and often lead to death, they are just those very comorbidities that are unfortunately disproportionately prevalent in the African American population. So we're very concerned about that. It's very sad. It's nothing we can do about it right now except to try and give them the best possible care to avoid those complications. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And Tony, I think you're going to have some pretty accurate numbers over the next few days, right? But they are they're very nasty numbers, terrible numbers. In total, 1,200 Abbott machines, Abbott laboratories have been fantastic.
Right. They're
Shipped now nationwide. Up to 500 more are being produced every week, and 50,000.
Wow, 500 a week. By that, let's see, 500 a week, 230 million ambulatory busy Americans, adults out in the world. Let's say we scrape away all the kids, assuming that they don't get it in mass, and we only target the ones who've been around. Like, great. So in about 17 years, we'll have enough to test people at doors of major facilities.
Testing cartridges are being manufactured per day. That means a lot of very fast tests. No nation in the world has developed a more diverse and robust testing capacity than the United States. We're dealing with other nations, helping them out.
Now,
because the testing is...
They're not helping. We're not helping them out. Everybody is talking to everybody. Italy, South Korea, China, Russia, Germany, Norway, Sweden, England, everybody is talking. The CDC is calling and asking the Italians what they did to help people who are on the edge come back from that. Everybody is checking blood levels, genetic predispositions. Like, everybody's talking to everybody. They're not he only notices calls coming in. That's honest to God.
Tough for them. And our tests are very accurate. A lot of tests are out there, and they're not accurate.
You mean the ones that China sent to Czech Republic?
In fact, some of the tests, you don't have a clue what's going on.
Well, he who lives in glass houses.
So we're working with other nations trying to get them help also. At a time when many Americans are experiencing increased stress, anxiety, and personal loss, we must also
speak for yourself.
Ensure that our country can meet the mental health needs of those struggling in this crisis.
Thank you, Georgina.
Struggling.
Struggling. The word struggling apparently is very crucial. Struggling. You know.
They're struggling. And
no, struggling. We should mention struggling again. Did he say struggling yet?
People are getting to know each other, frankly. Some families are getting to know each other on a positive note, but there are a lot of people struggling.
A lot of families are getting to know each other.
On Thursday.
Oh my God. This is the most time he's ever spent in the same building with Melania, isn't it?
I'll be speaking to leaders and advocates from the mental health organizations all across our country. And we are going to be talking about resources and tools that we'll make available to them. They need help. And
yeah, well, that's breaking news.
It's a big problem. When you take something where it was the most successful country in the world.
Oh my God, we're already in glory days.
The whole world is shut down. Think of it. We're down to numbers that are incredible. As I said yesterday, I think it's 182 countries right now. 182.
Somebody told me I couldn't believe there was I can't even believe there's 182 countries. Okay, it was me.
Under attack.
Under attack.
By the
monster, the scourge. Say scourge.
Scourge.
Oh, son of a bitch! It's been weeks. He still can't pronounce scourge. What the jack shit is going on?
By this virus. But as we wage
scourge, son of a bitch.
medical war on the virus. We're also speeding economic relief to our people. It's incredible.
No, you're not speeding economic relief. There's a huge delay. Nothing's going out. The only thing that are going out are the normal boilerplate SBA loans that would have gone out a week before anyways. The ones that were already in the pipeline.
We just had a meeting that was absolutely incredible.
Was it great? Was it a great meeting? Was there great was there chocolate cake? You got 2 scoops of ice cream, didn't you?
Banks. I spoke with
With the banks. Just had a great meeting with the banks. Everybody's dropping by the White House to get a free coronavirus test.
In the banking and finance industry about our efforts to help American workers and employers.
Yeah, did you yell at them because what you said wasn't true and it's not their fault because you handed them a Gordian knot and said, we gotta make quick work of this?
As of today, small business has processed more than $70 billion in guaranteed loans.
Of the 500 billion, how much do they normally process? How much does the SBA normally process in a 6-week period?
And will provide.
How much? Are you taking credit for the loans that have already gone out in this fiscal quarter before this hit? Because I think you are.
Much needed relief for nearly 250,000 businesses already. So we are going to be providing tremendous,
very strong, powerful
of money to the small businesses of our country who have been absolutely clobbered. And
we got clobbered. It's true. We got clobbered. Comedy clubs are clobbered. This is true.
Keeping open, and they'll be paying their employees, and they'll be all set to go. We're going to have a rocket upward.
A rocket is good. He's trying to get rocket used again.
I want to thank David Solomon, CEO of Goldman Sachs.
Anybody remember? Do you remember? Do I have to remind you? Thank you. When Edward Snowden said that this election was between Donald Trump and Goldman Sachs, because if Hillary got in, she would fill the cabinet with people from Goldman Sachs.
Brian Moynihan, CEO of Bank of America.
And the big banks would have direct access to the White House.
Gordon Smith, co-president, COO of J.P. Morgan Chase.
The guys who were in here 3 days ago.
Charles Scharf, CEO of Wells Fargo. Michael Corbett, CEO of Citigroup.
And the winner, thank you so much.
Kelly, CEO of Visa. Michael Mibach, CEO of MasterCard.
Thank you, Grim. Thank you guys for super chatting and being patrons. This is the only way I can perform currently because it's like a lot of service professionals, my job has been made illegal.
Noah Wilcox, CEO, Chairman of Grand Rapids State Bank, and we had numerous.
Oh, they lost a screen.
Also on the call, and I just appreciate them.
Yeah, really going out of their way to make a conference call.
They are way ahead of schedule, by the way.
No, you're not. First of all, there is no schedule. This shit just happened. Secondly, you don't have a schedule, so you can just pretend.
Ahead of schedule.
Say ahead of schedule again.
The Paycheck Protection Program has been incredible.
Has it? Well, it was great. Did you guys enjoy that? Whew!
So based on the incredible success of the program, I'm announcing that I'll be asking Congress to provide an additional $250 billion for the Paycheck Protection, which will help keep Americans employed to facilitate a quick and full recovery.
Mm-hmm. And how are you gonna send that out through the government? Or are you gonna send it through the state's unemployment insurance, which the Republicans insisted on?
We're doing very well.
Are we?
We're looking very bipartisan.
Are we?
A lot of people want to do it, and
yeah, is that why you said Schumer was a lightweight yesterday?
The plan is amazing. You know, they're processing.
Sorry, day before yesterday. They all run together.
Hundreds of thousands of loans, and this is the big banks that are doing it, the community banks. But the biggest banks right now in our country are doing it, and they're doing it for a lot of reasons. One of them is they want to help people.
And what's the other one? Well, what's the other one? Wait, don't tell me. Profit?
The
Oh,
WHO,
it wasn't a real quiz. There's no prize.
that's the World Health Organization,
Thank you, Peter.
receives vast amounts of money from the United States, and we pay for a majority,
Thank you, Bendy Loco.
biggest portion of their money. And they actually criticized and disagreed with my travel ban at the time I did it. And they were wrong. They've been wrong about a lot of things. And they had a lot of information early, and they didn't want to, they seemed to be very China-centric.
Oh, so now we're slamming the WHO for being China-centric. By the way, that's a big line that's happening around YouTube specifically, and the WHO was deferential to the information that China was giving them in the beginning, pretending it wasn't real. By the way, so what? The CDC was warning him. NIH professionals, Fauci's office, they were all screaming about this before. Who gives a shit what the WHO said?
And we have to look into that, so we're going to look into it.
Why? Look into what you did. God.
We give a majority of the money that they get, and it's much more than the 58. $58 million is a small portion of what they've gotten over the years. Sometimes they get much more than that.
No, they don't.
It's for programs that they're doing, and it's much bigger numbers. And if the programs are good, that's great as far as we're concerned. But we want to look into it. World Health Organization.
We're going to audit the World Health Organization for $58 million. By the way, what's this? Where's all the money going that's going out the door right now on the $2 trillion that just went out? Who'd you just fire? Oh, the person who's supposed to the independent person who's supposed to keep track of where all the money's going? You just fired that person? But we're worried where $58 million for the World Health Organization is going?
Because they really are,
Thank you, Bendy Loco.
it wrong. They call it wrong. They missed the call. They could have called it months earlier.
Oh, God.
They would have known, and they should have known, and they probably did know. So we'll
Oh, man. Now they're murdering people.
be looking into that very carefully, and we're going to put a hold on money spent to the WHO. We're going to put a very powerful hold on.
A very powerful hold as opposed to a regular hold. What do? Do you strain like you got like you're constipated? What's the difference between a hold and a very strong hold?
And we're going to see.
Oh, a strong hold. He's going to put them in a gulag. I see.
It's a great thing if it works, but when they call every shot wrong, that's no good. We're in the midst of a great
Yeah.
national struggle, one that requires the shared sacrifice of all Americans.
Oh, God.
In recent weeks, it's been remarkable to see so many companies and organizations and individuals like the banks.
Well, hey, he said individuals. We made the list. Thank you, Arsenia. We made the list, guys. He said individuals. What we do
I just
counts.
told you about biggest banks in the world. They stepped up to help small business.
We're still on banks.
Small business. The small business will someday be the big business. But the small business is 50% of our
68%.
economic strength. People don't realize
68%.
you add them up, but they just rose to the occasion. Everybody's rising to the occasion. It's been incredible to watch.
Well, we don't really have a choice. We don't have a functioning federal government right now.
To honor and celebrate the extraordinary examples of patriotism and citizenship, I'm asking Americans to use the hashtag America Works Together.
Oh, man. This is the solution we've all been waiting for. They're launching a hashtag, America Works Together. What? A hashtag? Why wouldn't you just call it America Strong? America Works Together. Christ. That sounds like a campaign slogan that Hillary passed on.
When sharing stories of how we're all working together, getting through this ordeal in a
Oh my God, the inspiration.
fashion that nobody would have ever thought possible.
Nobody would have ever thought possible again, Jesus Christ.
It's been incredible,
Lots of people thought this was possible. It's their job.
and that's why the numbers are so far much better. We want to keep it that way. If you look
No, they're not.
at the original projections, if we did nothing,
Oh, that's the standard now. Do nothing.
it would be
A lot worse.
disastrous. If we
Just wrote it out.
decided to do something, we closed it down. Had no choice. It was a good move. That was a good move.
Yeah. Why'd you wait? Why'd everybody have to just scream at you to? All right.
The early China move was a good move. The early
I should be getting points for this. Where's your I'm awesome bingo card?
Europe move was a good move. Made a lot of good moves, but closing it down was a big statement. It was a big, important thing. But we're looking to have far fewer deaths than originally thought, and I think we're heading in that direction. But it's too early to talk about it. I don't even want to talk about it.
You just did. You've been talking about it. You say it every single day.
Because we just want to work, and I think that
This is great. This is good stuff. Keep going.
people are doing an incredible job. The
Oh, really?
doctors, the nurses, the firefighters, the police.
Yes, they are. You're not. That's not. You don't get to say we and firefighters in the same sentence.
All medical people, what they're doing, the bravery that they're displaying.
Proctologists of America, you really have been disrespected during this whole thing.
It's just incredible. Every
Just incredible. I don't know what any of them do.
citizen should
They put on their gowns and they run through. It's like a marathon.
commence pride and the selflessness.
He has trouble with that word. What a surprise. Okay.
And all of the courage and compassion of our people, the workers, the people that are working, and construction workers going into hospitals, knowing nothing about this problem other than it's dangerous, and they go in there to rebuild sections of hospitals, and you have people in really big trouble right next door. They know nothing.
What? Thank you, Slick Chick. Is he saying, what? What? Construction workers are rebuilding sections of hospital?
About it. All they know is they're going to get it done. They're going to fix that wing so they can have more people in there. It's incredible.
You mean,
But this is a national spirit.
cite them. That's a very specific case. That's not happening all the way across the country. Talk about it specifically, or you're just talking about the people, maintenance people. Just talk about maintenance people. They deserve respect.
That won our independence and settled the frontier and explored the horizons of space, and that's what
Oh
we're
my God, he's going to invoke the Donner Party.
doing. I mean, this is all new territory.
Oh, I see. Coronavirus is the new frontier, and he's the Lorne Green.
It unlocked the miracles of science, and we're doing that. When
We're unlocking miracles of science.
you could have heard the calls I had yesterday with these great companies that come up with cures to diseases, and the success they've had over the last 15 years is really amazing. So I just want to thank all of them.
Well, yeah, play the call then.
They're working very hard.
That's what they do.
They're working with UK right now, and the UK doctors
Our, not University of Kentucky, by the way.
helping with their great prime minister. But
He literally he called up the heads of big pharmaceutical companies to go help his friend. This dude walks around in a gated community in his own mind.
these people are really tremendous signs of success are staring us right in the face. I think
Does anybody know what the shit that was?
we have something that's going to be great in terms of vaccines and in terms of everything else that they're doing. Just really helping us, helping the people of our country, and helping ultimately the people of the world. So I want to thank you all for
Oh, good Lord. What was that last sentence? What was that?
being here. I will take some questions, and then I'm going to give
And then he's going to go be on Hannity.
over to the vice president, and they're going to go into great detail onto what we're doing and all of the successful supplies and medical equipment that we're getting. All of the ventilators, I've said it, but you can go over it in more detail if you'd like, but we're taking in and building thousands and thousands of
Dude, just stop selling. Let them say what's real.
ventilators, and they're very high quality. I said, you got to go for the quality, and these are
That's
quality
why I want luxury ventilators.
companies doing it. So, because there is a big difference between a good ventilator and a not so good ventilator, Tony, right? We've seen that. And
You mean the broken ones aren't up to snuff?
big difference. So we're going top of the line. Steve, please.
Top of the line. These guys got, they got Cadillac fenders on them. Yeah.
Acting Navy Secretary submitted his resignation today, Mobley. Why did that become necessary, and what role did you have in this, sir?
Well, I had no role in it.
I'm just the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States. It's not something I'm not, I'll listen, I'll see what happens. You know what? Tucker Carlson will tell me what to think about it.
I've heard, I don't know him, but I've heard he was a very good man. And it was the whole thing was a very unfortunate. The captain should not have written a letter. He didn't have to be Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest. It wasn't that he wrote a letter, it's how long it was.
Mistake, but he had a bad day. And
He had a bad day. His crew were sick. They were going to start dying if he didn't do something. Bad day.
I hate seeing bad things happen. Man,
Oh, that's what it is. I hate seeing bad things happen. Trump wins 2020.
mistake. But, you should
Yeah.
writing letters, and you're in the military. You're the captain of a great ship, and you shouldn't be writing letters and sending them to many
If your boat is shitty, write all the letters you want.
people, and then it gets out to the media. And, the question is, how did it get out to the media? So there's a lot of bad things happen there.
Was it true? Yes, it was. Who gives a shit how it got out in the media?
And I had heard he did because he didn't want to cause any disturbance for our country. So that was because he wouldn't have had to resign.
Ooh.
And I would not have asked him. I don't know him. I didn't speak to him. But he did that, I think, just to end
His career.
that problem. And I think in really many ways, that was a very unselfish thing for him to do.
Oh, was it? Right. It was an unselfish thing for him to do, to step down. The fact that he was booed by active service members because he treated a commander who was trying to save his crew's lives like shit. And he banged his head on the ceiling of his career when he did it. And he steps down from that hoping to be invisible for about 5 more years so he can go back to gaining strikes.
Commander Crozier, who left.
Well, they're going to look at that. I think the Secretary of Defense, as you know, is Mark Esper, and he's very capable. And I think he's looking at that right now. They're
Once Crozier heals, put him back in charge.
going to just take it under regular Navy channels to see what they want to do. But he made a mistake, but he shouldn't have done that. And your secretary probably shouldn't have said quite what
Your secretary.
he said. He didn't have to resign.
He's your secretary.
He felt it would be better for the country. So I think
I didn't talk to him. I don't know him. It's not my thing. I don't really. I was dreaming about golf as this all happened.
it will end it quickly. Yeah, please.
So, Mr. President, a couple on the economic front. The $250 billion that was added today, or
Yeah.
will be added for the small business loan program, brings it to $600 billion in total. Do you think that figure is
Oh my
enough?
Well,
Might there
we're
need
going
to
to
be
find.
We're getting the aerial view today. Look at all the toys up there. What this shit is up in the rafters? Wait a second. Hold the phone. New info. What the hell is that? Wait, guys. Up in the thing, is that something from every country? Oh, thank you, Helimex. I think that's what that says. It's hard to read the thing. Appreciate that. There's Eiffel Tower, and there's some socks. There's a toadstool. There's MSNBC. There's does everybody bring something? That looks like a Donald Trump duck. Like, the hell is all this stuff? That's a story. I gotta dig into that. Okay, well, that's for later. I don't want to drag this thing out forever. I think that was a Simpsons toy. Yeah, that's super weird.
the line.
You know, when you see hundreds of thousands of applications, don't forget, they're for $3,000, for $7,000, some for a couple of million. I guess one of the banks said a couple of million. So they're for different, very varying amounts of money.
Uh-huh.
And there's a limit on the top, and then there's really no limit on the bottom as to what it might be. But
There's no limit on the bottom. So if anybody, small businesses, if you're out there, if you want to start loaning the federal government money, that's cool.
it's really popular. It's hundreds of thousands
Gee, it's almost as popular as going to work.
of applications. They really like it. What I like is it keeps
They don't like it. They have no alternative, you dope.
these companies together, these little companies. Just like we're going to help the airlines and the big companies, we're going to help the little companies. And the banks are running, nobody's equipped to do a thing like that, but the banks are equipped. So the banks are doing it, big banks, small banks. We have many
By the way, those two tech dudes over on the side, they're not screwing around. Look at that, masks straight up. They don't trust this administration.
banks, community banks, and they're processing the loans, and they'll be able to watch it and make sure it's done properly.
Talk today, sir, as well about potentially reopening the economy in the upcoming weeks. You mentioned the other day about a potential economic task force. Can you give us
Thank you, Kathy.
a sort of update as to
Well,
where
we're
that may or
thinking
may
about
not-
that, but we want to open up, and we want to get it open soon. That's why I think maybe we're getting to the very top of the curve. I spoke with Governor Cuomo, and he seems to think that he's getting close, and I think a lot of people think that a lot of
Yeah, because the days are passing and we're getting. Oh my God.
places are getting close. We want to start hitting the downside, and I think we're going to be doing. This is going to be a very difficult week, however. This week will be a very difficult week because that's the most difficult week when you're at that top position, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Gee, will we?
What can the federal government do?
Nothing. Pretty much nothing. That's hilarious, dude.
Because
The federal
because a lot
government
of it-
has done a lot, and it's going to do a lot. We want to. I really think that with the stimulus, we can be maybe even beyond. We're going to do.
Oh God, dude, he's talking about the number of dead over the next week, and he goes immediately to what kind of money we can make.
Perhaps infrastructure, which you've gotten approved before, and now people are looking to do it. And the beauty is we're paying zero interest. We're very
Right,
close
the
to
loans
zero
on that,
interest. In some cases, we're paying actually zero. We have no interest charge. And the dollar is very strong, and people are investing in the dollar. They want, the fact that we have the
I
strong
mean, because other countries are collapsing.
currency. We have the currency. Our currency is everything.
So yeah, if you can't get a ventilator, just believe in how just go. Well, at least I died for a strong dollar.
And other companies, other countries want to be in our currency. So we're getting all of the investment wanting to come into the dollar. The dollar is the strength. The dollar is the whole ballgame. We have a strong dollar. Other currencies are going down, way, way down in some cases. You
No,
look
that's not what the federal. Oh my God.
at other countries, I won't mention them, but other countries are going down 22%,
Thank you, Hiz.
25%, 28%.
Who cares what their economic picture is? They're fighting a pandemic too.
And it's very
Why? What? Who brags over countries that are tanking in their economies because they're being attacked by a contagious disease? What?
for them. That
Thank you, Benny Loco.
makes it much more difficult with us. Our currency is relatively now stronger than
Who cares? You have no. By the way, we have no idea what the strength of our currency is right now because we are in the middle of a pandemic and we don't know how it's going to end. And we don't know how it's going to affect other countries where we get supplies of stuff from. We don't know if China's telling the truth. They more than likely aren't. We don't know how it's going to affect India. We don't know how it's going to affect parts of Africa. We don't basically understand how it's going to affect the Midwestern states that produce a ton of food who've been ignoring this all along. This is nonsense. This is like saying we know how many people have the virus in the country. We don't.
it ever was, or it was over the last few years relative to other countries. It's always relative to other countries.
Is it really? Is that how economic theory works? How strong the dollar is based on how other countries? Jesus Christ.
Our currency is very strong. So therefore,
We can smell it all the way from here.
people want to invest.
It reeks of onions. Thank you, Hal Vickery. You doing good? Hold on. You wrote something there, and it's very small. I have to blow it up. 20 very strong dollars, the strongest dollars have ever been. Thank you. Appreciate that. This is these are strong dollars. Yeah, I thank you for super chatting very strongly. Like when you push the button, you go, oh, yeah. You take it and you like it.
If we do a bond issue to do infrastructure, everybody wants a piece of the issue.
Especially at zero interest.
And at zero interest.
Who wants to buy a bond at zero interest for America? Saudi Arabia? Anybody?
Please.
You see these memos.
Basically just a like the best case scenario in that situation is that some countries want a stash house for their money. Like Russia and Saudi Arabia, the rich people there want to hide their money so it's untouched for a time.
That reportedly Peter Navarro wrote back in January. When did you see them, and how does these memos sort of square with what you've often said that nobody could have predicted this? It sounds like he was predicting.
I didn't see him, but I heard he wrote some.
I didn't see him. He works in your administration. He was next to you 3 days this week.
Talking about pandemic.
Oh, this is a tough one.
See him. I didn't look for him either. But that was
I didn't see him. I didn't look for him.
about the same time as I felt that we should do it. That was about the same time that I closed it down. I asked him about it just a little while ago because I read something about a memo. I said,
No, it was a month before and 6 weeks before that. And he's the one also who told you stop talking about hydroxychloroquine and zithromycin.
I didn't see it. I didn't ask him to show it to me. He said, yes, I talked about the possibility of a pandemic. Nobody said it's going to happen, but, there is a possibility.
That's what nobody could have imagined means. That's what that sentence means. Nobody could have imagined that it would actually happen from their imagination.
It has been a possibility.
He's still trying to be friends with Navarro. Navarro has a line to all of his Wall Street buddies.
People wouldn't talk about it, but it was right about the time that I closed it down.
No.
And
it was 6 weeks before.
The world.
In January. He was bitching that there wasn't the $4 billion that Azar was asking for would not be enough.
Health organization was not in favor of us closing it down. And if we didn't close it down,
who cares what the World Health Organization says? Your own intel was saying close it down. Your own intel was saying vet people. And still 30,000 people a day came in from China just as long as it was just non-citizens couldn't get new visas.
We've lost hundreds of thousands more lives.
No. Oh my God.
I did a good thing. Yeah.
I did a good thing.
So at the time, though, when Peter Navarro did circulate those memos, you were still downplaying the threat of coronavirus in the U.S.
Well, I was trying to give hope. I wanted to give people hope. That's what I was doing. I was saying, hope it doesn't get worse, but we're doing everything we can, and it'll just be 2 people, and it's an old lady, and she probably won't be sticking around. Who likes her anyway? She's probably a Democrat, used to get me coffee.
Saying things like, I think it's a problem that's going to go away within a couple of days.
It will go away.
Oh my God. The universe will expand and actually go away too. That's not a prediction. Do I get points for that when it happens?
Within a couple of days, the cases will be...
It will go away. Jesus.
...to 0.
Well, the cases really didn't build up for a while.
Yeah, that's how a pandemic works. That's how a disease spreads.
But you have to understand.
No, I don't.
I'm a cheerleader for this country.
Oh, is that what you were doing? You were a cheerleader. I see. Next time, wear pom-poms.
I don't want to create havoc and
Can somebody CG pom-poms on his hands right now?
shock and everything else. But ultimately, when I was saying that, I'm also closing it down. I obviously was concerned about it because I closed down our country to China, which was...
No, you didn't. You just stopped non-citizens and new visa holders. Anybody who lived here, anybody who just traveled to China, anybody who was doing business here, they could all come in. What are you talking about? And you did it after the Chinese stopped letting people out of Wuhan.
Affected. I then closed it down to...
Oh my God, borders. It's always borders. Borders, if we just lock the borders, it'll solve everything. If we just stop everything from coming in, it's a tidal wave of hate and monstrosity. I can't deal. Can we just shut the border? How would you solve the economic... I think we need to stop the border from Wall Street.
That's a big move, closing it down from...
No, it isn't.
And then,
You didn't close it down.
closing it down from Europe and then ultimately closing it down
Yeah, it didn't shut it. When you thought the UK included Ireland.
to the UK.
Yeah. After everyone, for 2 days, you were saying, nah, it's fine. And then giving everybody warning. Guess what? We're going to be shutting down the border. So you might want to get in quick.
So, and it was right about that time. But I'm not going to go out and start screaming, this could happen, this could happen.
You don't have to. You could have gone out and going, this is I don't understand what the hang up is here. As the leader of a country, when there's a pandemic breaking out in another country, and we're an international trade country, we have a lot of different people here, coming out on television, even to do an early address and going, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the President of the United States. I'll let you get back to dinner and your favorite TV shows soon. There is an epidemic of a disease in China that is spreading, and it is moving now through South Korea and other places. We are taking steps to limit the number of people who can come here and bring the virus, and we are mitigating that as best we can. However, we cannot guarantee that it may have entered the country. So what we need you to do is help us by washing your hands, cleaning common surfaces, coughing into your elbow, and if you are having symptoms or feeling ill, isolating yourself and contacting your doctor via telemed as best you can. Don't go to an emergency room unless you have difficulty breathing or some other issue. It is flu season as well, so we don't want to clog up the hospitals, but it's best if we take every possible precaution right now. Thanks, America. We'll get through this. How hard is that?
So, again, as president, I think a president has to be a cheerleader for their country.
What are you cheerleading, though? Go get disease. Our fevers are red hot. Your mucus is cold snot. What?
But at the same time I'm cheerleading, I'm also closing down a very highly infected place, specifically the location, as you know, in China that had the problem.
Yeah, the Chinese stopped people leaving there.
And we're closing it down, but we close it down to all of China. Then we
No, you didn't.
close it down to all
This is a lie.
of Europe.
That was a lie.
Those were big moves, and it was right about that time.
Yeah, late. 3 weeks late. After everybody was screaming bloody murder.
Just a quick follow-up, Mr. President.
Did you just
Mr.
learn
President?
about this today?
Say it?
You learned about the memo today?
I read about it maybe a day ago, 2 days ago.
Do you feel like someone in among your staff, or Peter Navarro himself, should have told you about the memo
No, not at
earlier?
all. It was a recommendation. It was a feeling that he had. I think he told certain people in the staff, but it didn't matter. I didn't see it, but I did. I closed it down. I don't remember it even being discussed. We had a meeting. There were a lot of people. Most people
Good
felt they should not close it
God.
down, that we shouldn't close down to China, but I felt we had to do it. And
We didn't close down to China.
Oh.
You only stopped basically poor average people who were coming from China, either tourists or people, temporary workers, or people who were coming over to visit family. You only stopped people who were getting, like anybody who was in business in China could come and go all they want.
exact same time as the memo.
If you had read the memo at the time,
No, it wasn't.
how would that have changed the steps you took or the
I
statements
don't think it
that
would
you
have
made?
changed because I did. I basically did what the memo said, and the memo was, the memo was pretty
He hasn't read the memo.
memo from the standpoint that
Of memos, from memo standpoint, it's the most memo-y memo I've ever memoed in my life.
he talked, I guess, I didn't see it yet.
He was saying that the U.S. warning that the U.S. could lose trillions of dollars and millions of lives.
Well, you're not going to lose millions of lives, but you'll lose plenty of money. But I couldn't have done it any better because it was about the same time, and I closed it down to China.
And just lastly, so you maintain confidence in him, in Peter Navarro?
Of course I
Yeah, you're not going to fire him. He's the dude that Trump calls Navarro when he wants to do some insider trading. He's not going to get rid of him.
He wrote a memo, and he was right. And I haven't seen the memo. I'll see it later on after this.
Uh-huh.
But
I haven't seen. He said it. He was talking about the contents of the memo. So it's a memo. His memos are good. I mean, I haven't seen it. I'll see it later. I'll read it after. I'm probably like,
it didn't matter whether I saw it or not because I acted on my own. I guess I had the same instincts as Peter. Peter's a smart guy, and he's a
no, you didn't.
good guy.
He was asking for double the amount that Azar was asking for.
He's done a wonderful job. But he wrote a memo, and I guess he talked to various people about it. But ultimately, I did what the memo, more or less what the memo said.
More or less, mostly less.
About the time the memo came out, I closed it down. I took a lot of heat. The World, Health Organization was very much
Telling us not to shut the borders and then it would be
Yes, they did.
xenophobic to do such a thing.
like it. They actually put out statements about it. in all fairness to Joe Biden, he called me xenophobic. Like,
Yeah, because you didn't shut down the travel border uniquely to the area. You just shut it down to non-business people. You let business come through because you can't imagine that you're rich and poor. So rich people like me, poor people not like me. That's what xenophobic means. Racist means you don't like the race of Chinese people, let's say. Xenophobic means you don't like anything that's different. Different is poor people, normal, average people.
I like China. I like China. I like
That doesn't mean xenophobic. Oh my God.
the Chinese people are phenomenal people.
We have a great General Tso's chicken at Trump Tower, and I have it every year on Chinese New Year, whenever that is. Somebody has to tell me.
So I was called xenophobic. I was called racist. How could I do a thing like
None of the Democrats called you a racist in office.
this? Now,
A bunch of people did, but they call you that all the time because you are.
then Joe said that he was wrong, and he said that I was right. But I closed it down, and I was called names by some of the morning show hosts who don't have a clue what they're talking about. They're not
Well, that's no way to talk about Fox and Friends.
smart people. And I was called all sorts of names when I closed it down to China. Now they try and hide that, the tape of them saying terrible things. But that was a great decision.
You can't find it? You don't think everything exists on YouTube?
If I didn't do it, if I didn't do that, we would have had hundreds of thousands more people dying. Yeah, please.
You talked a lot about the WHO, and I was wondering, Dr. Fauci had discussed them earlier, so if I could ask you a question about...
Well, he respects the WHO, and I think that's good, and he's worked with them for a long time.
That dude's lens is over
But
the
they
top
did give
on the
us some
left.
pretty
Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Simmer down, dude. Look at the size of that lens. Look at that lens right there. Ridiculous. It looks like a cannon. If I was the Secret Service, I would jump on that dude right now. There you go. Hold on.
play calling.
They've also, I think, given lots of countries in the world accurate coronavirus testing that's been central to your guys' data modeling. And so
That I don't know. I can only say that with regard to us, they're taking a lot of heat because they didn't want the borders closed. They called it wrong.
So did Pakistan.
They really called, I would say, every aspect of it wrong. Until
the funding freeze
I'm
does
not happy about it. Look, we fund it. Take a look. I mean, go through step by step. They said there's
Oh my God. This was supposed to be short today. Isn't he missing his Hannity interview?
down. They actually said that I made a mistake in closing it down, and it turned out to be right. But at the time, they did that. So we're just going to take a look at it. We fund it, and they seem to be. I said recently in social media, I said they seem to be very China-centric. That's a nice way of saying it. But
That they've been floating that on. That's a meme that floats on right-wing circles, especially on YouTube.
seem to be very China-centric.
That's Stephen Miller talking to him.
And they seem to err always on the side of China. And we fund it, so I want to look into it. Yes, please.
Thanks. A quick follow-up on that. So is the time to freeze funding to the WHO during a pandemic?
No, maybe not. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but we're going to look at it.
You did say that.
We give a tremendous, no,
You did say you're going to do it.
and I said, we're going to look at it. We're going to investigate it.
Yeah, you have to understand. You got to speak Trump speak, folks. You can't. You're listening with human ears. You have to listen with Trump ears. When he says he's going to do something, it means he's thinking about it, and it's possibly going to happen, and maybe they'll do it,
Okay.
but we'll see, and we'll look and see what happens. And we could do it. We could do other things. We could do the opposite. Some people have said doing the opposite is good, but ultimately we'll make a decision on whether or not we do it, and eventually we might do it.
But we will look at ending funding. Yeah,
To-
because
to-
you know what? They called it wrong, and if you look back over the years even, they're very much, everything seems to be very biased toward China. That's not right.
I wanted to follow up.
So swine flu is now their fault, and you're not going to blame the Obama administration now that the death toll is going to exceed what theirs was?
About African Americans and how they've been disproportionately affected by the coronavirus.
Seems to be, unfortunately.
Do you plan on requiring the CDC, any federal agencies or state agents, public places doing tests, and private companies doing tests to collect that data
Yeah.
on the race of the people being tested
Thank you, Slick Chick.
and the race of the people being treated and the outcomes.
Well, we're just seeing tremendous evidence that Americans are affected at a far greater percentage number than other citizens of our country, because we're dealing with our country. Now we're looking at it from a worldwide standpoint. Tony Fauci is looking at it very strongly. But
he's Italian. He's looking at the Italian numbers. Worldwide, 68.1% of the deaths are white people. Right.
Numbers of
in the United States, they're equal to that.
Started to come out, and they're very strong.
The disproportionate number by death versus illness in the United States, curiously enough, that doesn't get talked about is Asian people, 13.1%.
Pretty obvious. I mean,
You will
you're
release
talking
that,
about.
but you
That's just from today, though.
release that
Sue, would you like to
publicly?
talk about that for a second, please?
I think one of the things that we're going to be doing with our Medicare data is to do that
Hi, Ziggy.
analysis. We're going to look back at the last month or so and look at, related type illnesses going forward.
Yeah, or is it the treatment?
We
The
now
available medical, maybe it's because poorer hospitals in those areas didn't have ventilators and other, all right. They're not going to
for
look into that.
coronavirus, so we can actually stratify
They're just going to look at the statistics and then say they looked at the statistics and that looking shows they care.
demographic information, so we can look at race as a factor. We can also look at what the underlying health issues are as well.
Hypertension, diabetes, asthma, environmental toxicity.
So we'll be providing that data very shortly, but we will be doing that analysis.
We're working on that
Yeah.
very hard. This is something that's come up over the last, I hadn't heard this, and then over the last few days, this has come up more and more. And I don't mean by a little bit.
You mean as more people die?
I mean, many times. It's a real thing. Now, we want to find cures, we want to find therapeutics, we want to find vaccines, because that will solve everybody's problem. But why is it that the African American community is so much, numerous times more than everybody else? And we want to find the reason to it. And
Let me see. Because your dad's tenements had rat droppings and lead paint and all kinds of other stuff that caused generational lung problems for people. Maybe. I don't know. Could be. Throw that in the list.
Dr. Fauci, Seema, both of them, and others are working on this. And they're going to have very good, I would say in less than a week, I think you're going to have very good statistics.
Yeah, because more people will die.
Couple of days, 2
Something
days.
specific
You know how many, what do you mean statistics? Christ.
aimed at those communities that are being hard hit, those black communities
Well,
that are
we're
being hard
helping
hit.
them a lot. But what's happening is we're trying to find out why is it that it's 3 and 4 times. Now, maybe that's not going to be the final number, but
It won't be.
why is it 3 or 4 times more so for the black community as opposed to other people? It doesn't make sense. And
There are two specific reasons. Comorbidity related to lung issues and diabetes and weight. People who are heavy have a much harder time recovering from being intubated specifically or being on a breathing tube. And a bunch of these neighborhoods in Chicago and Detroit and Atlanta, the story going around was that black people couldn't get it and it was an Asian Jew disease. Like that's a percent. It's just like the rednecks who are going to get hit soon because they think, it's a Democratic hoax. Same problem.
And we're going to have statistics over the next probably 2 to 3 days.
Yeah, as more people die, we'll have better numbers for you.
Mr. President.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question on behalf of myself and a colleague who couldn't be here due to social distancing. Thank you.
Who are you with? Who?
With Hearst Newspapers. I'm the print cooler today. Thank you. Some banks
Who are you with? What difference does it make?
only providing Paycheck Protection Program loans to clients with whom they have existing banking relationships. And you spoke to banking CEOs today. I wonder if
Yeah, they're only handing out loans that were already in process from weeks ago. They just sped up the process to look like they were doing something.
you'll ask them, these lenders, to accept applications from all small businesses,
Sure.
not just the businesses with whom they have existing
Okay, they'll be doing that,
relationships.
but we're also working with small community banks, so they will be doing that. It's a question I've already spoken about. I mean, in many cases, they have long-term relationships with thousands of companies. I was amazed to see how many you know, you saw the number of applications. It's hundreds of thousands. It's a lot of work. But I did ask that question, and they are working on that.
Thank you. And my second question from a colleague is Congressman Jerry Connolly, a Democrat from Northern Virginia, told the local DC CBS station that you personally requested the CARES Act stimulus bill be stripped of $25 billion for the Postal Service. Connolly claims that unless the USPS gets that $25 billion, the agency will be run out of money by June. He accuses you of hastening the demise of the Postal Service. Could you respond to that, please?
I'm the reason the Postal Service has lost billions of dollars every year for many, many years.
Yeah, because it's a necessary service for the entire country. Running it on a profit isn't the point.
This is the new one. I'm now the demise of the Postal Service. I'll tell you who's the demise of the Postal Service. So these internet companies that give their stuff to the Postal Service, packages, and I don't know why they're not, you know, I don't run the Postal Service. You have a group of people, so-called independent people, and they run it. But these packages are,
Amazon's fault.
They lose money every time they deliver a package for Amazon or these other internet companies, these other companies that deliver. They drop everything in the post office. They say, you deliver it.
He doesn't know the difference between USPS and UPS, does he?
And if they'd raise the prices by actually a lot, then you'd find out that the post office could make money or break even.
Yeah, but the post office is there as a baseline for people who can't afford to send a package expensively. That's why it takes longer.
Don't do that, and I'm trying to figure out why. These are independent boards. They were appointed by other administrations. They're sort of long-term. They're there for a long time.
Deep state. There's a deep state at the post office, people.
And I've been talking to them also. You can look it up. Take a look. They have to raise the prices to these companies.
Thanks, Gary.
That walk in and drop thousands of packages on the floor of the post office and say, deliver it. And they
deliver it. Just get it out of here.
Money, but the post office gets killed.
The post office is just forced to distribute it without. Anybody ever mailed a package? How many people want to bet he's never set foot in a post office?
Okay, so they ought to do that, and we're looking into it, and we've been pushing them now for over a year. And you know that because you've seen the stories. I'm pushing them. It's not fair for them to these great, wonderful modern companies. They walk into our old post office with all these routes that could never be built. You could never build them. They go into areas that you could never do. And they say, here, deliver this. And they lose a lot of money per package. And they have to raise their prices, but this Postal Commission doesn't do it. Now, we just got a chance to appoint a couple of people onto the commission, as I understand.
Thanks, Templeton. Zaret.
Oh,
Templeton. Yeah. Rescuers?
And that's good. But they have to raise their prices. Otherwise, they're just going to lose a lot of money. And tell your Democrat friend that he ought to focus on that, because if he focused on that, he could truly save the post office. Post office has been losing billions of dollars a year for many, many.
$2.2 trillion thing. You don't want to put $28 billion towards saving the post office when everyone is living at home.
Years. And
take
a look at that, because that's the way to solve problems.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you so much. Mr. President, you say this week will be very painful, very difficult, but a few weeks ago you say this was just like a flu. What have you learned?
I didn't say 2 weeks ago it was a flu.
3 weeks.
The question is, Mr. President, what
Excuse
have
me.
you learned that
Ready?
you could offer as an advice to foreign leaders who still are skeptical about this pandemic?
Skeptical, but okay.
Who are against
Thanks, Zach.
social distancing? What is your advice? What have you learned?
I said it was just like a flu. So the worst pandemic we ever had
was a flu
in this world was a flu.
Oh my God. So by him just blowing it off as a flu, that's him warning us about another coming of the Spanish flu. Holy shit.
And it was called,
You know what it was called? It
was in 1917,
1918.
And anywhere from 50 to 100 million people.
I don't know why he won't say the name. Is it because he thinks it's the Kansas flu? And he doesn't want to say that because he's mentioned that back and forth a couple of times. But he doesn't want to say the Spanish flu now for some reason because he's got a building in Spain.
That was a flu, okay? So you could say that I said it was a flu, or you could say the flu is nothing to
flu about.
Sneeze at.
The flu is nothing to sneeze at.
Then what can you offer as an advice to foreign leaders who
Jesus. It was when I said it was just a flu and it'll go away, and that was me telling you to prepare for lockdown.
skeptical about this pandemic and who are
Like Boris Johnson? Like Modi?
social distancing?
Well, I think there aren't too many of them.
No, most of them are in the hospital now.
Look throughout the world, and everyone, just about everyone that has practiced that is now closing up. Well,
Yeah, like Russia, for example. Russia, weirdly enough, has the same number of deaths that we had 3 weeks ago, and yet they have trucks driving down the street spraying Clorox on everything. That's funny. Huh. It's a lot.
the UK was an example. Now, they talk about Sweden, but Sweden is suffering
Thank you, Jill.
very
Good to see you.
gravely. You know that, right? Sweden did that. The herd, they call it the herd.
Did they call it the herd? Is that what they called it? You mean herd immunity? The attempt to just go through with it in a small, isolated country?
Suffering very, very badly. It's a way of doing it, but everybody has been watching everybody else.
Oh, I see.
So far,
And now they're asking us for our advice.
almost every country has done it the way we've done it. We've
What would you say to someone who is skeptical?
chosen to do it. If we didn't do it that way, we would have lost hundreds of thousands of
Oh my God. It's not my fault.
people. Okay.
You did, Richard Custer. You brought that to my attention to look into the Russian numbers, by the way, because I was just I was so caught up in all the other stuff, I didn't even look into it. It's ridiculous. It's similar to the Chinese storyline, because if you just had that many and you were handling it, why would you need giant trucks spraying Clorox all over?
Mr. President,
Bleaching the streets.
there's voting going on today in Wisconsin. There were reports of thousands of people waiting in hours-long lines as they've had to weigh their own personal health and their civic responsibility. Do you think that the Supreme Court was right in its decision that voting should go forward, the absentee extension should not take place?
Can't let them mail in it because they cheat that way. They cheat. People, you got to show up. It's called voter ID. Okay.
Yeah. Look,
I can't stop lying. Good to see you, brother.
Supreme Court, of course they were right, because what the Democrats wanted, and you know what this happened. I supported a man named Justice Kelly, who's Daniel Kelly, highly respected justice. And I supported him just the other day, social media. I know of him. He's just a fantastic justice.
Just a judge. He's very judgy.
And I endorsed him.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I endorsed him, they wanted to move the election. They didn't want to move the election. As soon as I endorsed him,
Dude, the virus is expanding. Oh, yeah, it's just, they just decided in the middle of this pandemic, when we find out how contagious it is and how, Wisconsin has no backup. Oh, my God.
the Wisconsin Democrats say, oh, let's move the election to 2 months later. They didn't mind having the election until I endorsed him.
No, I think that's correlation, not causation. We would call that in the genius companies.
Which is very interesting. And now they talk about, oh, safety. Well, it was 15 minutes after I put out an endorsement that they said we have to move the election. They didn't want to move the election before that. The other thing they want to do, which is crazy,
What do they want to do?
at the end of the election, they wanted to have 1 week for proxies to come in or mail ballots. Now,
Yeah, an extra week for people who didn't want to come out because they don't want to die to choose a mail-in ballot and do it after.
ballots, they cheat, okay?
They cheat. Oh yeah, the big cheating on the mail-in ballots.
People cheat.
How they do that? What's the cheating look like?
Mail ballots are a very dangerous thing for this
Why is that?
country because they're cheaters.
They're cheaters. Do they eat pumpkin?
They go and collect them. They're fraudulent in many cases. You got to vote. And they should have voter ID, by the way. You want to really do it right. You have voter ID. But
Then provide everyone with a federal ID that is verifiable at no cost for every citizen that automatically registers you to vote. And you can add party affiliation later.
Democrats, and this was turned over in the Supreme Court yesterday, I give great credit to the court, they actually didn't want to have an election day. They wanted to have election day, and then a week after election day, you choose your, all these ballots come in.
Yeah. So that people who don't want to go out because they don't want to die get a chance to vote in a pandemic.
Ballots come in. The mail ballots are corrupt, in my opinion.
Oh my God. They just can't stand the idea that people are going to actually vote.
And they collect them, and they get people to go in and sign them, and then they're forging.
Yeah, by the way, Trump has gotten his vote. He's voting by mail in Florida. So he will get his ballot by mail. He's not going to a friggin' voting booth and voting.
It's a horrible thing. And so what happened is the Democrats in Wisconsin, they had no problem with the election being today.
Until they saw the death rates.
I endorsed the Republican candidate.
Oh my God, nobody cares, dude.
Justice Kelly, Daniel Casey. They went crazy. As I endorsed, and you know that's true. And now, election, they were having the election. They were fine because they thought they were going to win the election. Then I endorsed him, and all of a sudden they think they're not. Now,
Jesus.
Justice Kelly, okay?
Yeah.
With millions of pills of hydroxychloroquine donated, is there a plan or system in place to track the potential side effects?
Well, you saw.
Oh, ouch. He's like, yeah, track the, oh, shit.
Represent.
Boy, who do you represent?
Serious harm. So is there a plan to
is there a
track
plan?
the side effects?
The side effects are the least of it. You have people dying all over the place.
Oh, my God.
And generally, the side effects are really with the Z-Pak, having to do with the heart. The Z-Pak, that's the antibiotic, not with the hydroxychloroquine.
Antibiotics have to do with when you have pneumonia. You don't, all right.
So a woman last night, I watched her on one of the shows, good show, Laura, and she was, she thought she was dead. She was a representative from Michigan. She was just in horrible shape for 12 days, 14 days. She thought she was dead. I think she said that her doctor said she's, it's going to be very tough. She saw me talking about this, and she asked her husband to go to the drugstore. Now, this is a Democrat representative, a person that...
Oh, my God. More anecdotal stories, shall we?
Perhaps wouldn't be voting for me. I think she'll be voting for me now, even if she's a Democrat, even if she's a Democrat representative. And they went to the store, which I made available because we have millions of doses. We have, I think, 29 million doses.
Yeah, to reimburse the pharmacies for the run that happened for people with lupus and RA.
Drug. And she asked her husband, she said, please go out.
Go down to the pharmacy and get me some chlorine cleaner and some Pop Rocks and a funnel.
I'm not going to make it. Please, you have to hear her story. Please go out, get it. He went at 10 o'clock in the evening to the drugstore. He got it. He gave it to her. Now, it's I don't say it works like this at all. 4 hours later, she awoke, and she said, I feel better. And then shortly thereafter, she felt great. This is a woman that thought she was going to die.
That's not science. You have no idea why, like she was in the 13th day of her illness.
A Democrat representative, highly respected woman, African-American woman. I don't know if you saw it. As you asked a question about African-American, she was an African-American woman, a great woman.
The greatest Democrat ever.
Her of speaking, the way she told the story was beautiful.
Articulate. Oh, he's dodging that one.
I asked my husband to go and get it. He got it. She is now okay. I mean, she was interviewed last night on television. And she thanked me. She
never went to the hospital.
Even in a tweet, she said, I want to thank President Trump.
She never went to the hospital.
He saved my life. Look, I don't say that happens with everybody, but that's a beautiful story. There are many of those stories. And I say, try it. Okay, please.
Try it.
I mean, if you're in trouble, if you're going to...
80% of the people who get this disease will have mild or normal flu-like symptoms and will get over it. 20% will require hospitalization, 5% will have morbidity issues and will die in that window, will either die from the disease itself or from complications related to it and comorbidity. If you just tell somebody, try this drug, 80% of the people who take the placebo that if I said everybody who gets this disease and test positive, eat a fistful of orange Tic Tacs, 80%, I will be right 80% of the time. I mean, that's better than any marketable drug.
Die and you're going to die. I mean, you're not.
You're gonna die and you'll die. He's like evil Oprah right now. You're gonna die and you'll die.
This bill. Now, there could be some side effects, but the side effects is really more so from the Z-Pack.
Those side effects?
No, doctors have to recommend it. I want doctors. I'm not saying, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying,
try a drug untested.
Hear great results.
Because I'm not going to hear the bad results. Have you heard the story about your supporters who believed you and took it, and one of them's dead and his wife's in critical condition? She's still on a ventilator.
Let's go.
She's intubated. She's got a chest tube.
Laboratory. Let's test it for a couple of years. And we got people dying in this country and all over the world right now.
But you don't want to rush. You like, you know what would cure this? I hear cyanide in small doses works. I don't know what the dose is, but try it. What have you got to lose?
Dying as we speak.
Cyanide gets rid of rats. You don't want rats, do you? Maybe it'll help with this.
People dying, and I really think it's a great thing to try, just based on what I know. Again,
you don't know anything.
A doctor.
Yeah. So shut up.
You
don't even have to list a drug. Just say, listen to your doctor.
A physician's approval. And they have physicians in these hospitals, great physicians, brave physicians. They also say it's good for the hospital workers to take them, that it's keeps it away, keeps it out of your system. I don't know, but there's a lot of good examples. And, we have a 1,500 case study going in New York, and it's almost complete. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, it will. And you have to compare that to a placebo level, and you're going to find that they have almost the same efficacy.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that woman.
If you could stick a Halls up your ass and have the same efficacy as hydroxychloroquine.
You have to see it to believe it. The way she's.
Yeah. Lots of people recover from this disease after it's really rough. Even from just staying home and it was horrible and they thought they were going to die and they could barely breathe. And then some people actually succumb. And you can't go, well, the people who die, they probably would have died anyways. It's not because I gave them a shitty drug.
It was like a miracle.
It wasn't a miracle.
And this was not a fan of mine. But she's a fan of mine now, and I'm very honored by it. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Can you talk about your decision to remove Glenn Fine from the Pandemic Response Accountability Committee? And does that move and some of the criticism you've leveled at IGs, how does the American public have confidence that there'll be oversight?
Well, we have a lot of IGs in from the Obama era, and as you know, it's a presidential decision.
So I rehired the woman, and she was the one hearing from hospitals they weren't getting enough stuff, so...
I left them largely. I mean, changed some, but I left them. But when we have, reports of bias and when we have different things coming in, I don't know Fine. I don't think I ever met Fine. I heard the name.
It wasn't an Obama.
I heard the name. I don't know where he is.
Wasn't an Obama person.
He was from Clinton. Okay, you check that out. Okay, maybe he's from Clinton. But we did change him. But we changed a number. We have about 7 nominations in, I believe. We put 7 very, very highly qualified
They're
people.
super good people. They were all snipers for Blackwater. They're perfect people to oversee how Health and Human Services funds are spent.
For the IG position. And, that's a decision that I could have made 3 years ago and I could have made 2 years ago.
And I didn't.
But we're putting in, not so much for him, we're putting in 7 names. I think it was 7.
I could have fired Comey at any time.
And they're going in now. Yeah.
Mr. President, when you talk about the WHO being China-centric, what exactly are you talking about? Is it because China is underplayed how many victims?
I don't know. They seem to come down on the side of China. Don't close your borders to China. Don't do this. They don't report what's really going on. They didn't see it. And yet they were there. They didn't see what was going on in Wuhan.
Well, we had our CDC guy there, and you pulled him, right?
They didn't see it. How do you not see it? They didn't see it. They didn't report it. If they did see it, they must have seen it, but they didn't report it. Please, go ahead.
Mr. President,
They didn't see it.
turning back to the voting in Wisconsin and those long lines, who will be responsible and who should be held responsible if people get sick after they voted?
Look, all I did was endorse a candidate.
Oh my God, he thinks he's being blamed.
I don't know anything about their lines.
Oh my God, I don't know anything about lines. I don't know that thing. I just said these Democrats wanted to shut down voting as soon as I said.
Anything about their voting. I love the state. I
To
won
get out
the
and vote
state.
today as well. Will you take some of the responsibility if some of
I
those people
won the
get sick?
state, which is rare for a Republican to.
I won the state.
But I won.
Glory days.
State of Wisconsin. I'm going to win it again because we've been great.
No, you're not.
To the people of
Calling it right now.
Wisconsin, as you know, with our policies.
They'll cheat with their stupid mail-in. We can't have mail-in votes in Wisconsin.
They like me and I like them, but
not enough to allow them to vote from home. They need to get out and rub elbows.
all I did was endorse a candidate that's highly qualified, very respected person, and all hell broke loose.
Oh, I see. So, Dana, in his tweet for Kelly, did he say get out and vote for Kelly today? Is that what he's freaked out about? Is that what you're saying? I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but I didn't see it this morning. So is that what we're talking about? Is that why he's so sensitive about it? Does he think he's going to get sued?
As soon as I did that. And then all of a sudden they want to change. Before I endorsed them, they didn't want to change this voting area. There was no problem with the Democrats voting until I endorsed
God.
the candidate. Then they said, let's move it 2 months. Let's move it 3 months later. Safety, 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 right? All of a sudden they want safety.
Yeah, in the middle of a pandemic. What are they thinking?
Well, before I did the endorsement, they didn't talk about safety. It was fine for months. For months, it was fine. It was always going to be. And now I endorsed.
As soon as the country is shut down.
And they want safety. So, you know, that sounds.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that, how
No,
does
he
the
same
election,
shit.
them holding this election in Wisconsin line up with the social distancing recommendations that have come from your
Well, there you have
administration?
to ask the people that you have a Democrat in Wisconsin as governor. Ask him. That's his problem. Okay, he should be doing it. Again,
Yeah, he wanted to extend it, and the Supreme Court won't let him.
some governors.
You just told them that the remedy that Democratic governor came up with is cheating.
And I won't let them fail because when they fail, I'll help. But that's run by Democrats right now. Okay? It's run by Democrats. You had a great Republican.
Is it possible to socially distance when you're voting? You're going to have crowds.
You have to speak to the governor. What you should do is call the governor of Wisconsin and ask him that question. But also ask him, how come it was okay
Oh, my God.
to do this until I endorsed the candidate? And as soon as I endorsed him,
It's all
these
about
lines are
me.
formed, and I hear, Mike, the lines are through the roof. So, you know, hopefully they're going to vote for the right candidate. Yeah, please.
Can I just check in on oil again today? I was wondering if...
Oil?
Yeah. if
Where
there's-
is it today?
Well, I was wondering if you...
No, where's the price? Give me the price.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
How can you ask a question when you don't know the price?
I'll look it up for you.
Okay, let me do somebody else then. Go ahead.
So you were highly critical of mail-in voting, mail-in ballots for voting.
I think
a
mail-in
few minutes
voting
ago,
is
but
horrible.
you voted by
It's
mail
corrupt.
in Florida's election last month, didn't you?
Sure.
The more people that you don't understand, the more people that vote, the
vote by mail for the,
How do you reconcile
because I'm
that?
allowed to. Well, that's called out of state. You know why I voted? Because I happen to be in the White House and I won't be able to go to Florida to vote. But
yeah, it's not cheating when he does it. It's cheating when Americans do it.
Mailing within
well, there's a
state or
big
mailing
difference
outside the
between
state?
somebody that's
You understand? There's a difference between rich people and poor people.
out of state and does a ballot and everything sealed, certified, and everything else. You see what you have to do with the certifications. And you get thousands and thousands of people sitting in somebody's living room signing ballots all over the place. No, I think
They
that
have to match signatures. What are you, high?
mail-in voting is a terrible thing. I think if you vote, you should go. And even the concept of early voting.
Oh my God. This is the conspiracy theory that if the disease makes a comeback this fall, this is him saying it was cheating. That's why I lost.
Is not the greatest because a lot of things happen, but it's okay. But you should go and you should vote. I think you should go and you should vote. You look at what they do where they grab thousands of mail-in ballots and they dump it. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, like the governor of Georgia
and
in a dumpster.
I have to tell you can look at the statistics. There's a lot of dishonesty going along with mail-in voting, mail-in ballots.
You've encouraged state officials to buy their own medical equipment, but federal officials are kind of swooping in and scooping up those orders. How are you ensuring that?
Yeah, it is.
Being distributed fairly. And
well, we're getting great prices on equipment. We're getting great prices on equipment, and we're helping the states. And the governor.
We're outbidding the states.
Very thankful. Mike Pence.
We get to buy in bulk. Oh, there it is. I saw the tweet. I saw it. There we go. Wisconsin, get out and vote now for Justice Daniel Kelly. Protect your Second Amendment. So get out and vote now, 7 hours ago. And he goes, all hell broke loose. Then he's looking at the response. That's why he's sensitive about this. This isn't about the holding of the elections. They were talking about this. He thinks they just wanted to move the election today.
With every governor was on the call, and it was like a love fest. They're very happy. I don't know if they tell that to the press. Some of them don't. Some of them will never say good to the press, but they know we've done a great job. Not a good job, a great job.
Because state officials are widely saying
No, I think sometimes.
I think some of them say we're great and some of them say we're not. You're missing your Hannity drop.
Say is let us know, and we will immediately drop out of the bidding. Let us know, and we do that, and we drop out. Sometimes we tell them to drop out because we've.
No, you drop out.
Price.
No, you drop out. You get good day, sir.
And then we'll.
No, you drop out.
To them.
How do you encourage them to be fairly
Yeah, go ahead, behind, please. Go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you, Mr. President.
No, not you. In front, please.
Some states have had trouble with getting accurate death counts, particularly because of lack of testing or no uniform.
Did you see death counts?
Yes, because of lack of testing and no uniform system to put that into.
When you say death count.
Yeah. As opposed to the way you say deaths.
I think they're pretty accurate on the death count. Somebody dies, I think the states.
No, they're not. They only count the people who've been tested in hospital who die from it, not people who die at home, not people who die and they haven't been tested.
Pretty accurate.
But if there's no testing.
That's a big deal, what you're just saying. No, the death counts, I think they're very, very accurate.
No, they're not. He doesn't. You have to rephrase it. He doesn't understand the question.
I think if you look at China and if you look at some of these very large countries, when you talk about cases, number of cases, I would be willing to bet they have more cases than we
Yeah, they do.
But they don't do the testing like we do.
That's not why. They test them. They just don't. They lie about it.
You know, you look at some of these certain countries, and I would be willing to bet a lot that they have
a lot
cases, but we're more accurate.
So do we. We have probably 10 times the cases in the country. Asymptomatic carriers, mild symptoms.
And our testing is done very accurately, and we've got a good process. Did you have one? Yes, please.
Mr. President, you have been very consistently supportive of a payroll relief tax.
Thanks, Cosmic Rose. I'll look into that. I haven't seen that letter, but I'll look at it.
What, payroll?
Payroll relief. Now, I know you're still busy trying to implement phase 3, but as we move towards phase 4,
we did never get out of phase 2.
there's still obstacles to that because that would put money in American pockets like consistently.
Yeah, you're right. I would love to see a payroll. Good questions. I would love to see a payroll tax cut.
It's a ridiculous idea.
And I think on behalf
because I want to gut. It'll help me gut Social Security later on.
Of the people, it would.
It's ridiculous.
Quick.
Doesn't help.
It's a longer term.
You take money from people's paychecks from a job they don't have.
You know, it's a longer time because it's over a period of.
You don't pay payroll tax on oh God.
A year or whatever you want to make it.
The job you used to have.
But I would love to see a payroll tax cut. There
won't help.
People that would like to see it as a permanent tax cut.
No, That's right. You want to take advantage of that? No.
Payroll tax.
No, hard no.
Stopping it from.
Well, the Democrats
Because it's a terrible idea.
right now are stopping it.
What are their reasons?
No, is that the OAN lady?
I don't know.
I don't know. Some about Social Security not being solvent and old people eating cat food.
They think
I don't know. Some about that.
politics to stop it.
Just politics. Oh, politics.
You'd get
The politics of old people eating cat food.
people a lot of money immediately. The payroll tax cut
Would be a nice permanent thing to scuttle Social Security.
would be a great thing for this country.
No, it wouldn't.
I would like to have it regardless of this, but
Yeah,
this would be a
because it has nothing to do with this.
fantastic time to have the payroll tax cut.
While everybody is panicking about this, we could crowbar this through.
The
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Democrats are stopping it, but I don't think they're. I think there's a certain flexibility. I think
No, there's not.
something that we
Hard no. Forget it.
do, both for business
Move on.
and the people. But this would get money into the hands of small business immediately, money in the hands of people, the
Now,
workers and people immediately, and it would be over an extended period.
they're shooting the camera this way because the woman who's asking the question is standing right there.
And it would be simple to do. It's so easy to do. It's a great tax cut, and I'd love you to speak to the Democrats and let's get it done. So I'm going to give this now to Vice President Pence, and
Thank God he's leaving. I gotta go get an extra layer of orange. I'm gonna be on Hannity later.
they're going to go over some.
I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna express my belief that acetaminophen should be pronounced the way I pronounce it, and zithromycin, and you should don't be afraid to talk to your doctor about hydroxychloroquine.
Very good statistics with
Statistics.
everybody. And we'll have a couple of answers on that because we're working very hard on the African American community with respect to what's going on because it's not good. I don't like it.
You mean the death rate? Please be specific when you're saying that we are going to talk about the African American community and it's not good. Maybe clean up your language a little bit on that.
And
Asians also, the Asian community. Ugh. Am I right, Pence?
we're going to have some very good statistics, Tony, I think over the next couple of days.
Well, good statistics. The more numbers of dead and the more blood samples we can get, the better the statistics we can get. You can't do 25% of 4 people. It just doesn't read right. At one point, Schaumburg was the fastest growing city in America. That's because 4 people lived there and 4 moved in.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Lumber. Lumpity-doo. Lumpa-da-doo. And
thank you all. A few updates, and then
look. They've got screens. They're gonna have actual details.
I'll introduce Dr. Deborah Birx to talk about what we're seeing.
What we're seeing is that she's dressed in her space karate outfit.
Around the country.
I don't know why this
what
is
the data
so far away.
is telling us.
Hold on.
But suffice it to say, as the president said several times, this is a very tough week in America.
Hold on, I'm switching
and
camera.
Our hearts go.
Wait, why is this not? Why is there no sound? What's happening? Oh, I didn't want to do that. Don't bring him back in. Oh, I don't want to watch the other one again. What a horror. I don't know why that all of a sudden doesn't. Oh, because I muted up here.
But these packages are.
Oh, him bitching about the.
Now, I know you're still
That was the
busy
lady,
trying
by
to
the way.
implement phase 3.
Americans are keeping food on the table for our fellow Americans. And let me begin by just saying what I said to some of the most prominent CEOs of meat and grain industry companies in the country, companies like Tyson Foods and Hormel today. Not just these
Don't
companies,
say that word.
but to
Mother
all
would
the
not approve.
hardworking people
Mother would not
working in
approve.
food supply today. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing to keep those grocery store shelves stocked.
See, is this hard? Pence is hardly a master politician, but he's able to come out and do this stuff without reading using his finger.
Thank you for showing up for work every day and working hard to keep that food supply rolling in America. You know, it was more than 5 weeks ago that the president brought in all the grocery store leaders in the country, and there he received a commitment that no grocery store in America would close, and they haven't. But it's been these heroic Americans from the
Yeah, again, why is Pence coming up there and just smoking the president in these simply by being tolerable?
To the fork that have made.
Watch it. You got to watch your language. Mother would not approve.
For Americans to have one less worry, and they are truly inspiring heroes. Now, that being said, I did hear from the industry today that there have been reports of some plants having reduced capacity because of people having concerns about exposure to the coronavirus. In fact, over the last several days, there's been some incidents of worker absenteeism and some
due to sickness.
Plants have actually been forced to close temporarily.
Oh, food shortages. No wonder Trump didn't even want to be out here when they said it.
So
great.
On behalf of the president, on behalf of our entire team, and on behalf of a grateful nation.
Thanks to all the people who didn't stay home and cough into a rag.
Just say to all of you that are working in the food industry at every level across the country, just
look at the handout I held up and believe in your president.
Understand that you are vital. You are giving a great service to the people of the United States of America.
So if you're sick, just go to work anyways. Get your fellow guys there sick. You're replaceable.
And we need you to continue as a part of what we call our critical infrastructure to show up and do your job. And
show up and do your job. Look who's talking.
We're going to continue to work tirelessly in working with all of your companies to make sure.
That's funny because it's pretty tiring work to work in a food supply industry. Jesus.
That workplace is safe. With that being said, let me talk about the other heroes that we always mention at this podium today, that Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci tirelessly
I'm going
to make sure.
We're skipping ahead to Dr. Birx.
More than 6 million N95 masks.
Oh, you're just going to brag about the same number of shit.
Really, friend.
No.
If I could just take.
Hold on.
To Dr. Birx and then Seema Verma and Dr. Fauci, and we'll take all your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
It's great to be here from my planet, Venus O'Keefe.
Hopefully you can see from those numbers that we've taken.
I am one of the pod plants that has grown a human head to communicate.
A data detailed approach, really bringing the power of ground.
I'm calling it the scarf and collar is space vagina. I'm going with space
data.
Weird.
The supply chain and moving supplies based on really what you would call burden of disease and need. If I could just start out by not just going to the numbers at the beginning, but really talking to the community of health advocates, to the community that works on the social determinants of disease and the communities of the historic Black colleges and universities. We really need to improve messaging, and I'm asking them to help us increase the messaging around this. We don't want to give the impression that the African American community is more susceptible to the virus. We don't have any data that suggests that. What our data suggest is they're more susceptible to more difficult and severe disease and poorer outcomes. And we really need to make sure that every household is aware of what it's going to take to protect the individuals in that household that have pre-existing conditions. We could call on the indigenous nations, the real tribal leaders, to also be working very closely to protect the elders of their communities. We know this is more difficult in multi-generational households, and it's really going to call for really unbelievable attention to details of hand washing and protecting others from each other, particularly if you don't
stay clean. Right, we get it.
For us all.
Cool. What are the numbers?
Supplies went to these areas to begin with. We talk about attack rates or the cases per population. So in the New York, as a state, they have 7 cases per 1,000. This is the highest in the country. In New York City itself.
Oh, just wait.
Closer to almost twice that in New York City. New Jersey is 4 per 1,000, Louisiana 3 per 1,000, Massachusetts 2 per 1,000, Connecticut 2 per 1,000, Michigan 1.5 per 1,000. The district
New York City, which is about to be hit with a shitstorm this weekend, was 1 per 1,000 2 weeks ago. Michigan is 1.5 per 1,000 as a state right now. Out of context, these numbers sound small. They're not.
Columbia and the Baltimore area now 1.5 per 1,000, and we're watching them very closely. Pennsylvania 1 per 1,000, but we're
See that Pennsylvania as a state has what New York had it as on a
concerned about
as the whole state.
Philadelphia. What is allowing us to move supplies based on burden of disease and need is the extraordinary West Coast that has had very low numbers from Washington that was...
You mean us hippie granola eating vitamin C, om meditation, tech nerds? You mean that part? You mean California, Washington, and Oregon?
And 1 per 1,000.
The hippies are gonna save you.
California, that is less
Granola, it's the only thing that stops it.
than 0.5 per 1,000.
Wheat germ.
And Oregon, that's even less than that. And it's those states where there's large populations because of the enormous work that they're doing to prevent expansion and
By ignoring the president? Yeah,
out of
we know. I don't care.
development of the curves, as you have heard about. And so we do see, and I know
All right, great. Show us a chart. Do you have any charts?
had very low sensitivity and specificity and give you a false reassurance that you either give you a false positive or a false negative, implying that you may be protected. So please wait until we have those tests available and validated. People are working around the clock.
Great. So what she's saying is those 1.8 million tests we've heard about, yeah, a bunch of them are false positives or false negatives.
To make those available to the American people. We all understand how important that is because you've heard us talk about asymptomatic cases, and we really want to know how broad that is and how common that is. And so
It's common.
places like New York City, where I described
Ask Italy. Ask China.
that they had
Ask Germany.
7 per 1,000, sometimes 2, 3, and 4 times any other place in the United States. Being able to know what the number of people who never had symptoms but do have a positive test
Antibody test.
would be really critical at
Yeah, it would.
this point, particularly as we plan for
People with antibodies could protect people who are worried about catching the disease because they won't be carriers of it. They won't be symptomatic carriers as long as they wash their hands. They're not going to breathe the disease on anybody else, but we don't have an antibody test.
any reoccurrence in the fall or in future seasons. Thank you.
And we assume
With not a single chart, not a single detail.
Center for Medicaid, Medicare.
Except for the fact that the tests are less effective. And he talked about food shortages. She's talking about how the tests aren't reliable.
Services will discuss.
No wonder he left the stage.
We've done to support hospitals. As we support healthcare workers, we want to make sure the institutions
Why is he always groping like he's going to back that ass up?
that are providing the environment for care are well financed. She's got a
I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
couple of funding streams, and help is on the way. Seema?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And let me just
Start by saying that the president is doing the most presidential job in the presidency of the
with
president.
echoing the president and the vice president's comments about our condolences to all the people out there that have lost somebody to the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. You're getting a much more serious face than you had a week ago.
And also, sincere appreciation and thanks to all our healthcare workers that are on the front lines. But we know that it's the impact on the healthcare system isn't just those frontline workers. Healthcare organizations across the nation are having increased expenses. They're having to spend more on supplies. You're seeing all of the supplies that are being sent to them, and that's having
Really? Well, I thought we had plenty, and plenty are on the way, and there's too many, and they're like people
a direct impact on their bottom line. Many of them are also have
All the hospitals that can't do elective surgery, all the doctor's offices had to put off stuff, all the teeth and dental places that are shut down.
increased expenses because they're taking advantage of some of the flexibilities that we've given them. Hospitals without walls, they're putting, you may see tents out in their parking lots where they're doing testing.
Hospitals without walls. Hashtag
Screening, so they have a lot of increased
hospitals without roofs.
expenses as well. Other healthcare organizations are not performing essential surgeries or other services. A lot of them are moving to telehealth, and that represents lost revenue for these healthcare organizations.
Really? You can't just... Jim, I'm glad you got in there. What you're going to do, lay back so I can see you on the iPad. There you go. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to make a small incision right here. Just, yeah, whatever you got. There's... yeah, you're going to want to cauterize that first. This will work. Use something like this. Do you have scissors? You know what I mean? Just in the that, you know, in the wound like that. And yeah. And then what you're going to want to do is let's see, what did you get? Doc, all I got are these garbage twist ties. Those will do fine, Jim. Okay, so I'll thread the hole through there. Feels better already, Doc.
Across the country. And so the president has asked us to address this issue. About 10 days ago, we put something called accelerated payments that we do in the Medicare program, and it allows us to advance payments to providers based on their historical Medicare revenues that they receive.
Great. So everybody who had if you're on Medicare, Medicaid, or your surgery was delayed, your doctor's already been paid for it.
So
make sure you check in. Hey, man, I hear you got paid early for my surgery, so I don't need to pay anything. There will be no bill.
In 10 days, we've been able to provide payments to providers. We had about 25,000 requests. We've processed about 70% of these. It's happened in about 5 days, and the total on that is about $34 billion that we've managed to put into the healthcare system. But those are essentially loans. The president has asked us to go further with this and to start the implementation of the CARES Act. That provides $100 billion to the healthcare system. You've heard Secretary Azar talk about the focus on some of those dollars going towards the uninsured, but the president wants us to accelerate getting those dollars out. And so this week we will be putting out another $30 billion, which are grants. This is going to be based on Medicare revenue. No strings attached.
Oh, good. That's a great idea. No strings attached.
So the healthcare providers that are receiving these dollars can essentially spend that in any way that they see fit. Also, this is going to be done in a very easy, simplified way for many of our healthcare providers. We actually do direct deposit with them, and so those dollars
those dollars will never see the light of day.
Just go right into their bank accounts. For other
Great. Yeah.
providers, all it's going to require is some very
Cool. Yeah, got it. Yeah, dentist. Yeah, right. Everybody's going to get paid. Right. Understood.
say thank you to all our healthcare providers out on the front lines. To all Americans, the best thing that we can do to support our healthcare providers is
do your own surgery at home. Get yourself some cleaning fluid and then just spray that right into the thing right there. And then if you have meat shears are good. If you got bone right in the front,
adhere to those guidelines around 30 days to slow the spread. That is
I didn't realize. I missed that entirely.
best thing that
I wouldn't have guessed they would have said stick to the president's guidelines for 30 days to stack
we
the
can
debt.
do to support our healthcare workers. Thank you.
I just sprayed pledge down. The whole room it smells lemony right now.
Dr. Fauci, please.
I just want to make a brief comment to get back to the discussion about the health
Now that I can speak freely because the president's not here and Pence only tells him good news, we're solid.
disparities in the African American community, because it really is very important. And the reason I want to bring it up, because I couldn't help sitting there reflecting about sometimes when you're in the middle of a crisis like we are now with the coronavirus, it really does have ultimately shine a very bright light on some of the real weaknesses and foibles in our society.
Oh my God. Is he going to be a real person? No wonder Trump had to leave the room.
And as some of you know, the greater proportion of my professional career has been defined by HIV/AIDS. And if you go back then, during that period of time when there was extraordinary stigma, particularly against the gay community. And it was only when the world realized how the gay community responded to this outbreak with incredible
Look at Pence. Oh, don't bring it up.
courage and dignity and strength and activism that I think that really changed some of the stigma against the gay community, very much so. I see a similarity here because health disparities have always existed for the African American community. But here again, with the crisis, how it's shining a bright light on how unacceptable that is. Because yet again, when you have a situation like the coronavirus, they are suffering disproportionately. As Dr. Berg said correctly, it's not that they're getting infected more often, it's that when they do get infected, their underlying medical conditions, the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, the asthma, those are the kind of things that wind them up in the ICU and ultimately give them a higher death rate. So when all this is over, and as we've said, it will end, we will get over coronavirus, but there will still be health disparities, which we really do need to address in the African American community. Thanks.
Look at that. A real person. Nothing to add. Totally great. Thank you, Dr. Fauci. No wonder Trump didn't want to be in the same room.
Well said. Questions for our panel, please.
Yeah, for Mr. Vice President, and then a question for Dr. Birx as well.
Sure.
On the ventilator issue, with 8,400 of them in the stockpile and tens of thousands more coming, why are states like California and Washington needing to send ventilators to other states? And is that smart if they might need them later on?
Well, I'm going to let Dr. Birx speak about what's happening in California and Washington because it is a real credit to the people of both states and the leadership of both states to see the progress that we've made. We continue to witness that the numbers where the outbreak began, we all remember when this first emerged in the Seattle area, the numbers continue to be steady and low. And what we've seen the governor of California do, what we saw the governor of Washington State do, and the governor of Oregon, where the coronavirus hasn't arrived to a large extent in Oregon, I think is in keeping with the highest tradition of
people having to ignore the federal government because it's falling apart?
The American spirit.
Oh, I missed it.
They are understanding what I think Americans are.
Why does he keep playing with his air breasts?
More and more that while...
I mean, how is this not already a meme?
We tend to think of this as one large curve in our minds when it began in our country, and we long for the day that it will end, and we want to hasten that day by putting into practice all these mitigation efforts. The reality is, what these experts have explained to this lay person is that what we're actually going...
Oh my God, was that a humble moment? What's it like to have somebody up there on the podium who goes, I know it probably better than they do? That's so odd. I don't even know.
Witness is a number of small curves that will cumulatively mean the state for California to recognize, and FEMA to...
Yeah, we'll move through those. There we go.
Of this virus in their communities, which is really astounding, the power that gives us to actually understand that we can compete against this virus and do well. And so I think their governors and their health commissioners looked at their curves, looked at their hospitals, looked at their ICU, and looked at their needs, and then decided that they didn't need those at this time and wanted to make it available for other states that were in more of that 2 per 1,000, 3 per 1,000, 4 per 1,000, and 7 per 1,000. And I think we'll learn a lot from other states and other communities.
That people need to be on these ventilators for somewhere between 6 and 18 days.
To really understand.
So if their arch comes within that window, they're going to need those things back.
To do this better next time. And I think this is what will teach us, because we've never...
If he puts together a pandemic response team and calls it, Virus Force.
We've never attempted anything like this, at least in my lifetime, where we've had, these 30 days to stop the spread. I mean, we've not ever put out information like that.
Really? No? There wasn't a whole big thing about condoms around the AIDS crisis? Nobody... It's been so long.
So I think you heard the CDC director talk earlier today about in the models how different individuals thought communities would mitigate and the rate at which they would mitigate. And I think you can see that across the world, we're learning that when you give communities the information that they need to understand what's going on.
Yeah, don't step on a landmine.
And you're transparent, that
No. Back up. Sorry.
communities can be part of the solution in a transparent.
I swear to God, he must have seen their notes, or they must have. I think Pence looked at what they were all going to say at this and went, "We can't have him on the stage. He'll explode."
An amazing way. And I think
They booked him on Hannity just because of this.
this kind of education and dialogue.
All right. I don't really have a huge problem with this part, and I also don't see a lot of questions coming from this. There's one more Fauci moment, so we'll look at that because that's useful.
Reporting 40 to 70% of deaths are African Americans. Do you expect that pattern to continue nationwide? Some states have not even reported their data yet.
You know, I can't be confident to predict patterns, but the underlying reason why that is happening doesn't change from state to state.
So you expect it to get worse?
No, I expect that when African Americans get infected, given the disproportionate disparity of the underlying conditions that lead to complications like the ones I mentioned, I expect that we will...
Obesity, hypertension, diabetes, asthma, environmental toxicity.
Still see the pattern that when you look at the proportion of people who
hypertension
into serious trouble and die, again, it's going to be disproportionate towards the African Americans. I do expect that.
And is the federal government now leading the charge in collecting this information from the states, and when will it be made public?
Yes, the answer is yes. It will be public as soon as you get enough data to be able to make a meaningful statement.
So can we expect this week or a couple of days?
There's not the amount of people statistically who are dying is not enough to show a pattern yet.
The task force has assigned that to several members of the team.
That would show you why those black people, for example, did it.
Handling that data now, it is a great concern for
Thanks,
us.
Dana.
And but it's probably a good reminder that we have to be especially careful around people with serious underlying health conditions.
Whoa, what was that camera jump?
As we've said it many times from this podium over many weeks, that the risk of serious illness from the coronavirus remains low for the average American. But for anyone from any community that has a serious underlying health condition, particularly senior citizens with serious underlying health conditions, the risk of tragedy is very real. And so we're going to be very diligent about studying this and providing information and guidance in accordance with our best scientists. But I do want to say that
it's just, dude, this is just another governor talking about this.
And every American.
Yeah.
The president's coronavirus guidelines for America about wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home. If you can work from home, if you're not in critical infrastructure like our incredible healthcare workers,
and grocery workers,
all those heroic people working to keep food on the shelves at our grocery stores, and keeping medicine at the pharmacies. We ask you to work.
Steve, that's he's saying that's why healthy 30-year-olds have died. Those are outliers. We're talking about the statistical normality of it.
Home if you can. Avoid unnecessary travel.
And apparently, can't stop lying. Fauci will be played by Tom Hanks in the biopic. Trump will be played by a bag of Cheetos, and Pence will be played by a bag of flour. And Dr. Fauci will be played by Dr. Birx will be played by a potted plant.
Avoid gatherings of more than 10 people. Use a drive-through at a restaurant. Don't go in the restaurant. Not just to protect your health, but to protect those of every community, of every background in this country who may have underlying conditions that make them susceptible to tragic outcomes.
Right.
That's how we can all do our part to slow the spread and to protect our most vulnerable. And the American people are doing it. And as we continue to do that, we will hasten the day that we put the coronavirus in the past and we reopen America and put America back to work. Thank you all. We'll see you tomorrow.
He didn't re-up the hashtag. Hashtag America works, America bad. Hashtag it takes a village. What was the hashtag America works together? Hashtag America stronger together. Hashtag Hillary was right. Hashtag butter emails. Well, I have to say, compared to some of the others, it was pretty tight. I think the strategy of the team needs to be to make sure that Trump has to be on Hannity every single night after this. Yeah. We need a what? 8% Hal? Yeah. Oh, we need a hashtag something Hal. Oh yeah. Subscribe. How about that? Hashtag like and subscribe. Pass the station around to you guys if you could. Infotainmentwars.com. Become a patron, or if you already are one, thank you so much. There's dozens of ways to support, as Can't Stop Lying is so powerfully, so strongly showing how to powerfully hit enter. But if you can't and you just need a laugh in the middle of all this insanity, I'll be here tomorrow when they do this again. As bad as it gets, we'll be here laughing at this fool because he does not deserve any respect in this situation. As long as he wants to come out there and pat himself on the back, he's going to get roasted. That's how it works. And if there's any worthwhile information, we'll try and, I'll try and post some of it. I think the news will carry a good amount of it. But in general, I'll be here every day just, dragging his ass because this is embarrassing. The fact that he is this dumb this often and so impressed with himself. I think it's the line from Ford Fairlane that sticks out to me the most, where I think Morris Day said it when he goes in and there's this guy he's in a recording studio and the guy is just stinking up the place. And they go in and they're watching him do a take. And the line is, "What is this asshole smiling about?" And I just feel like that sums up the Trump presidency more than anything else. You guys are wonderful. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like. Talk to me in the comments section. Say hi. Share the show. Like and subscribe. All that kind of stuff. I may not make the kind of money that the Young Turks do, but at least I'm not starting a race war. So, that balances out. You guys are wonderful. I will see you guys tomorrow. I will be gaming later on tonight. I'm still going to try and get a couple of friends to come on and do short hangouts with me as well, trying to coordinate with when they can do it, and some of the technology is new for some of them. So I'm going to keep working on that. There'll be plenty to watch and do. Feed yourself and take care of everyone around you. Stay home. We'll get through this. Stay sane. Laugh at the absurdity of life and get some sun and take some vitamin D.